everyone, it's Aaliyah, and I'm so glad that you're here spending time with me again. On this episode of the Pono Experience, we are going to be diving into a topic that does not get enough attention, and that is the postpartum recovery. I had my first baby almost a year now, and although I had so much support from family and friends who have given wonderful advice on what to do and what not to do, there were still so many surprises that I did not expect and I was not prepared for. From feeling happy one moment to sad the next to the challenge of recovery after a C-section. Honestly, this period of my life was a roller coaster of experiences. And the postpartum period is, for a lot of women, a huge transformation in their lives, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. Now, if you're a new mom, a soon-to-be mom, or you're somebody who is supporting a new mom on their postpartum journey, I hope that my experiences that I will be going over with you guys today will bring some light on what you should do, and I hope it gives you some guidance. So let's get comfy, relax, and get ready to connect to yourself through the body, mind, and spirit and live Pono. We need to talk about the physical changes that happen during postpartum. No one really prepares you for what comes after birth. The body aches, the fatigue, the constipation, the hair loss, the excessive bleeding, and yes, wearing the adult diapers. For me, postpartum physically was honestly a very humbling experience, if you ask me. And I had a C-section, which was not planned. It was not an emergency C-section, but it was recommended to get one. And I was not prepared to have a C-section. I did all the research on how to have a natural birth, and that did not happen, but it's okay. So this part of my postpartum recovery has been definitely challenging, as my lower abdomen, was just cut through 7 layers. I was really, truly not prepared for how long the recovery process was after a C-section. Now, I come from a very large family on both my mother and father's side. On my mom's side, my great tutu had 15 children. My tutu had 9 children. And on my dad's side, I'm not sure what my great-grandmother had, but my grandmother had 9 children as well. And I can't even imagine having 2 kids, and having to go through the postpartum period, but to have 9 children, 15 children, that is a lot. I don't know how my grandmothers did it. Now, after I gave birth, I tried my best to document photos and videos of my body and just all of the experience that I was having. But it was really difficult to record a lot of videos and photos. But looking back at the ones that I do have, I was really surprised at how much my body changed. My belly was probably the size of 4 basketballs before I gave birth. And then maybe just a few hours after, it had already decreased by half the size. And when I saw that, I was just so surprised, and it just reminded me how amazing our bodies are as women. Like, we literally create lives with our body. We create every cell, every muscle, every bone of our babies, and our body just knows what to do. It just knows to shrink back to its original size. Now, of course, that doesn't happen for all women. It is a bit slower, but our bodies go through a huge transformation after birth, whether that is a C-section or natural. Our bodies are able to handle pain going from 0 to 100 in a minute. It truly is amazing what our bodies can do. Now, there are a ton of perspectives when it comes to how long the postpartum recovery period lasts, but generally a lot of professionals say that it can last anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks for the immediate recovery, but there are lingering physiological effects after birth that can last months or even years. A lot of people say a woman never truly feels like herself again up until 2 years postpartum, which I find so crazy. Now, of course, these are just estimates, right? Every woman's body is different. Our bodies heal in different ways and different speeds. Even after I received clearance to do physical activity, I still had to take it slow. And I would consider myself who was very active and for the most part pretty healthy. So this honestly took me by surprise. But after I had baby, I realized there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to do anything physically within those first 6 weeks. My body was just so tired and exhausted and in pain, especially after having a C-section. You know, I was so eager to go back to hula after I had baby. Once I got that clearance, I went straight to the very first class. Now, a lot of people think that hula is very easy, but from experience, now that I've had my baby, I can say that hula honestly takes a lot more core strength and stability than you think. When I went back to my first class, I remember my hips and my midsection feeling very loose. That sounds weird, but that was a good thing, but that was also a bad thing because yes, they were loose to do the movements very, I guess you could say easily, but they were too loose to the point where it was really hard to control the movements. Not only that, but I also had a lot of pain in my hips, even during my pregnancy, especially when I started really feeling the weight of baby on my lower body. But even when I returned back to hula, I was still having pain in my hips after class. I couldn't really figure out why, and I ended up realizing that this was due to 1, lack of core strength, and 2, lack of strength in my glute muscles. And this all just made me realize in order to feel like yourself again physically, it's really going to take time, and there is no one size fits all. Here is what I wish I realized when it comes to your mental and emotional well-being during postpartum, and it is a roller coaster. From baby blues to overstimulation to anxiety, feelings of loneliness, postpartum depression. Honestly, the range of emotions were so overwhelming, and it's overwhelming for so many mothers out there. I don't know if you guys know, but around 1 in 8 women in the US experience symptoms of postpartum depression, and the US is actually one of the highest in maternal mortality rates amongst countries, developed countries actually, and many of the deaths do happen during the postpartum period, unfortunately. My grandmothers had multiple babies, but I never heard of them having issues, or at least I've never asked when it came to their mental health postpartum. And honestly, a lot of women around that age, a lot of women back then had tons of babies, and I never heard of postpartum depression being really high back then. And I'm not sure if that's just because it was just never reported, or they were always on a baby high because they were always pregnant. But you guys tell me. I would love to hear your thoughts and your perspectives on that, but I just want to bring that point up. Now, it's really frustrating being here in the US and our healthcare system. There's just such a lack of mental health resources for moms postpartum, and because of that, it's contributing to a lot of underdiagnosis and mistreatment of conditions for postpartum depression and anxiety. And I remember when I went to my postpartum checkup at 6 weeks, it was only to check my physical body, my C-section scar, and my breasts, which was kind of odd. There were no questions regarding how I was doing mentally or emotionally. None. There was no pamphlet to support my mental health or emotional well-being, like resources. There was nothing. I felt like I was just another number. I felt like I was at a DMV appointment. It was really disappointing. And I wish that the US would really prioritize, postpartum care for women like they do in other countries like Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands. Specifically in Finland, women are actually given extensive postnatal care, and it's free, of course, for paying taxes, but it's free. Women in Finland can actually have nurses come to their homes and help support them for pretty much anything, postpartum, dealing with baby, all of it. I'm going to share a little bit about my personal experience when it came to my mental and emotional health postpartum. Again, remember, I am just almost at 1 year postpartum. Now, when I had little mama, what a joy she was. I definitely got baby blues. I remember getting very emotional, and I would cry out of nowhere to my husband for no reason. I had a lot of anxiety and feelings of guilt and feeling like I was not doing enough as a new mom. Sometimes I would think that, oh my gosh, am I breastfeeding correctly? Is baby getting enough food? Why is she spitting up? Is it because of me? Is it because of how I'm holding her? I would think why is she waking up so often? Oh my gosh, it's my fault because X, Y, and Z, right? You name it. I had every thought that you can think of, any intrusive thought. And overstimulation was another big one for me. and it is for many mothers out there. But when I had baby, I had family come and visit maybe 2 weeks after baby was born. I had my immediate family and my husband's family. You're talking 10 people in a room, 10 people, all different personalities, and my family is a little bit more on the hyped up end. A lot of louder voices, while my husband's family is definitely more like calm, cool, collected. So all of that was so much. It was so much. And I remember specifically baby was of course being passed around because everyone wanted to hold her, but even she became very overstimulated and she started to cry. I just remember standing there just like trying to take a breath and keep myself collected. And this was when everyone was leaving, so I was like, okay, just a few more minutes, like they're gonna leave and then I can take baby into the room. And I just remember when I took her into the room, they had left and I was holding her and I was feeding her, and I just sat there and I started to cry because I was just so overwhelmed by what just happened. And I just remember kind of feeling like you feel connected to your baby. So because she was so overwhelmed, I felt that. And it was just so much for me at that time and so much for her at that time. So if I could give any advice, and if you take anything from what I am saying on this episode, do not have more than 2 people coming to visit you after you have a baby. Do not make that mistake like I did. And I can't imagine when it comes to overstimulation for moms who have kids already. Many women in my family, a lot of my cousins, have 2 or 3 kids now, and they're all maybe 2 years apart, 2-3 years apart. So you're talking about having children at the age of 3 or 4 and a newborn. And every time I visit my family or I see my cousins when they had their newborns, I would sit there and I would be like, oh my gosh, this is so much. How are you not overstimulated? But I'm sure they felt some type of emotion, but I just remember seeing that and feeling overwhelmed myself, and they weren't even my kids. But navigating the complexities when it comes to your emotional and mental health postpartum can really be overwhelming. I can't stress that enough for moms. But just remember that you're not alone in this beautiful journey of motherhood, and it's okay to experience a range of emotions. Us women, we are just naturally emotional like that, but it's just heightened a little bit more when you have a baby. But it's essential to normalize those feelings. Whether you're happy one moment, to sad the next, to feeling a little frustrated. Just remember that every mother is going through it. You're not alone, and your emotions are valid and just a part of the process. Now, there are some ways that you can cope with postpartum mentally and emotionally, and just a few of those would be: one is to try and make activities for yourself that are very relaxing or that make you feel whole and balanced again, whether that's reading a book, going for a walk by yourself, getting a postpartum massage, which I highly recommend, or just taking a bath. Please, moms, take that bath or shower if you prefer a shower. Do not wait weeks. I don't understand why there are moms out there waiting weeks and not taking a shower. When I don't take a shower for like 2 days, I just feel you just feel icky. And when you feel that way, you just feel, I don't know, for me, it makes me feel very closed off and I just don't feel good about myself. And I made it a point when I had baby, I was like, no, like that is not going to happen to me. I'm going to make sure I take my baths and my showers, because I believe that there are no excuses to neglect your physical health, because your physical health is going to be directly correlated to your mental well-being. So please, moms, take that shower, take that bath. You have to bring baby in there with you and give baby a bath at the same time. Do it. Just let that water run on your body. I promise you, you will feel 100 times better. And the second thing that I want to bring up that I believe is very crucial when it comes to your mental well-being in postpartum is that you recognize the signs of postpartum depression. And the same goes for those of you who are supporting moms through their postpartum period, is to recognize signs of postpartum depression. Postpartum depression affects so many moms, and the symptoms can vary, and it does affect your daily life life daily routine when you have postpartum depression. You feel very extreme highs of anxiety and depression, and it'll affect your sleep. And you're already not getting sleep when you have a newborn baby, and it can affect your appetite as well. And unfortunately, in extreme cases, there may be thoughts of harm to yourself or to the baby. And I think that a lack of support from your partner is very correlated to why many women struggle with their mental and emotional well-being postpartum. I'm very lucky that I did not develop postpartum depression or have any sort of extreme rage. I don't know where I would be mentally if it were not for my husband when I had a baby. He was there every step of the way after baby was born. He was always asking how I was doing, how I was feeling. He would recognize when I was kind of zoning out, and he would say, "Hey, are you okay?" He would take the initiative to help me out by, helping me out of bed. He would take the initiative to help me up when I'm trying to get up. And it was very hard getting up after a C-section. Like, I needed to grab onto somebody's hand. And I understand that there are a lot of moms out there who may not have a supportive partner, but even if you don't, you can get support from other people around you, whether that is a close friend, a sibling, your mom, in-law, a cousin, whoever it is. Getting that support is going to be key to taking care of your mental and emotional well-being through the postpartum period. And lastly, let me break down the realities of being a new parent. Adjusting to life with a newborn comes with so many challenges. And even for those of you who have little ones already, adding another one to the mix is a whole new experience. And I just want to give you guys 6 things that you're going to want to prepare for as a new parent. And the first one is the sleepless nights. Everyone tells you that you're not going to get very much sleep when you have a baby because of the constant feedings and the constant diaper changes and you name it. But in my opinion, surprisingly, I actually thought the newborn phase of sleepless nights was not too bad because baby does get into a routine, especially newborns. They have to be fed every 2 to 3 hours. So I was already on the mindset, okay, every 2 to 3 hours, baby was going to wake up. For me, it was manageable. And I had a lot of support again from family. I actually think that as baby gets older, the sleep regressions are a whole nother thing. I was not expecting sleep regressions to be so bad. I hate them. I hate sleep regressions so much because they happen out of nowhere. And that's just due to baby's development and the new things that they're learning and the new skills. And they just, one, either don't want to sleep or they have frequent wakings. But the second thing is the constant worrying, right? As a new parent, and this is especially true for fathers, you can't help but worry about everything and anything when it comes to your newborn child, whether that's their health, their safety, if they're developing okay, and more. Anytime my baby did something, my husband was always asking, "Is she okay? Is that normal? Should she be doing that?" You name it. And the third is the loss of time for yourself and for you and your partner. This should be an obvious one, but you really don't realize how much baby's needs take precedence to your own, especially if this is your first child. It's so easy to forget about yourself, and for me, it was eating. I would just kind of push aside having to eat because I was so focused on taking care of baby, but you also forget about spending quality time with your spouse as well. I 100% believe that your marriage is so vital to the well-being of your baby, and you want to nurture your marriage, and you want your baby to see that, especially as they start to get older and older, because they see how you are treating each other. So spend that quality time, and it really prevents a lot of mindless arguments and fussiness between the two of you. The fourth thing is isolation. Again, for moms, you already know this, but babies come first for us. And it's so easy to be unapologetically in your family era, which I am in. It's very easy to just put your family first. And by doing so, it's going to affect your connections with like your friends. But I also believe that when you do become a mom, you just end up on a different level. You end up being in a different period of your life that sometimes just no longer connects with other people in your life, like your friends. So what I mean by that is, if you're having a family, you're staying home, you're not going out late, while your friends may still be out partying, getting drunk, and hooking up with guys. And for some of us, like myself, that just does not fit my vibe anymore. And it just sounds even more draining to do stuff like that. So just be aware that you may lose connections as a new parent, but that's okay. There's plenty of other people that you can meet in this world and make new friends and hopefully make mommy friends too, so you can have play dates. But the fifth thing is going back to work or balancing work. I don't know what I would be doing if I had to go back to work right away or if I had to work in the office. I was very blessed to be working for a company at the time that gave me 5 months of maternal leave. When I returned, I was laid off 2 months later. So I have been unemployed since then. So we are going on almost 1 year of me being able to be with baby. Honestly, my layoff was a blessing. I don't know how I would have been handling anything if I was working right now, because there are some jobs that are very demanding, even if you were working from home. I know a lot of parents don't have that luxury to be with their babies, especially here in the US, and the cost of living is so high, so both parents usually have to work. And I wish that our government offered more support to new families, and that also includes the father. My husband only had 2 weeks of leave. A lot of companies don't offer a lot of leave for the father, or they call them the non-birthing parents. So I just think that's crazy. And women usually have 12 weeks to leave, and I do not think that that is enough time to take care of a newborn and spend time with them, because your child grows so fast within their first year, and to only be with them for 12 weeks and then you have to leave them for more than half of the day is insane to me. And even if you were able to get on a good schedule with baby after 12 weeks, like I said, babies grow so fast, so the next moment they're learning something new, you're going to have to change it all again. And then you have the sleep regressions, right? This is a large reason why I don't like sleep regressions, is because then it's going to affect you having to wake up in the morning for work, right? So just be prepared for that when it comes to balancing work. And the last is just remember that parenthood is just a learning curve. Every stage of baby's development is going to bring challenges, especially if you're a first-time parent. It's going to require you to adapt and learn. And one day your baby's going to be sleeping all the time. To the next, they're going to be walking all over the house. So as first-time parents, the changes can be very overwhelming, even for those who have multiple kids, right? I'm not saying it's not overwhelming for them too, because each child is different. One child may have issues teething when they're a baby. The next child may have issues with their tummy. Every baby is different, and the whole journey honestly just keeps you on your toes, and honestly it just makes it that more exciting. I have a few tips on how you can stay sane as a new parent and dealing with all of those things that I just brought to your guys' attention. First is just take it one day at a time, because you don't have your babies as newborns forever. It goes by so fast, and you want to make sure that you want to stay in the present and celebrate the little things, like when they're in active sleep. Personally, active sleep was my favorite and their first smile, or when they roll over, or when they start responding to you with babbles. These are moments that make all of the struggles and all of the challenges so worth it. And just reflect on them and realize how incredible of a journey it is, and that it is just full of love and growth and endless possibilities. Other tips would be to try and set a routine. I know I said that routines can change, but having a routine with your newborn child will really help kind of get you in a groove and stay consistent, and babies really like routine as well. And it just helps you feel more put together, and things just feel a little bit easier when you're on a routine with baby. And the most important is you want to make sure that you are communicating when you're sad, communicating when you're feeling frustration, especially with your partner. You want to be on the same page with your partner when you have a newborn child, because raising a child is a team effort. You should not be bickering at each other. You should be working as a team. And probably my biggest tip, and one that I should be taking and telling myself, is avoid saying no at all costs when it comes to someone offering you help. So don't say no when someone's offering to do your chores. Don't say no when someone is offering to watch baby for a couple hours so you can go get your hair done. Don't say no to a friend who's wanting to grab a coffee to just catch up with you. Don't say no to the aunt that wants to deliver you food for dinner so you don't have to cook. Or don't say no to your husband when they say, hey, I got the baby, go ahead and take a nap. Trying to push through things as a new mother and trying to be strong is not going to help you. As someone like myself who is very hyper independent, who wants to control everything and do everything on her own because if I don't do it, then it's not going to get done, right? That mentality is not going to help you. You have to let go and receive help from others. I remember when I started saying, okay, like, yes, you can help me. Yes, you can do my chores. Yes, you can watch baby. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Just remember, in order to take care of your little ones to the best of your ability, you have to take care of yourself. So accept the help. And lastly, this is why I say accept the help, is find support, right? If you don't have support close to home, there are external sources that you can go to find that help. Because taking care of a little one and raising one, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise children. So there is support like for lactation consultants, there are sleep consultants, your doctor, of course, a pediatrician. If you need to have therapy, there are a lot of resources for new moms, especially if you have postpartum depression or any symptom like that. But the best support, and free actually, are Facebook groups. There are so many supportive groups on Facebook. I was really surprised when I found out, but you can ask questions, you can get some advice, you can even find other women who are going through the same situation as you, and you can share ideas and bounce off each other and maybe even make some friends. Just some suggestions if you are in the Bay Area. My favorite groups are the Bay Area Mommies and the San Mateo Moms. As we close our episode, it's important to remember that in order to be Pono during your postpartum journey, it means embracing balance, self-care, and being mindful of taking care of yourself in order to take care of your baby. Start by giving yourself grace and understanding that postpartum is going to take time. It's a journey. It's not who can finish the fastest. Your recovery postpartum should be slow and steady. Just be kind to yourself and remember that it's okay to not have everything figured out, because none of us do. So be patient with yourself and be sure to set realistic expectations and find support when you need it, whether that's from a loved one or from a professional. Be sure to focus on your physical health, mental health, and your emotional health through gentle activities, eating good food, getting rest, and yes, saying yes to the help. So be sure to create a harmonious environment by communicating openly with your spouse, and ensure that you are surrounding yourself with positive people. Embrace the process of healing and be patient with it and give yourself love. And recognize that taking care of yourself is essential to effectively take care and raise your little one. And by doing so, you will create a life full of love and joyful moments with your baby, and by creating your new family. So just remember, you got this, mama. So with that said, thank you so much for being here with me today. If I made any kind of positive impact for you, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and like on your favorite podcast app. And hey, if you have any thoughts, questions, ideas, or maybe you just want to see more uplifting content, be sure to connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, and you can also watch the full podcast episode on YouTube. So keep those good vibes flowing, stay connected to yourself, and keep living Pono. With aloha, Aaliyah.